Hello everyone, and welcome to the second episode of my Offshore Workboat build series. In this episode, I'll build on the basic hull and superstructure that I built out last time to make something a little more complex and good looking as you see here. Now, I've decided to make quite a little bit of changes to this vessel right now, and those would be the big helipad on top, which I thought would be great for missions and landing helicopters on it and stuff, very useful in stormworks, as well as the launch bays on either side of the boat, which are just big openings that are big enough to contain one of my 27-foot Orca ribs. So hopefully I'll be able to get a crane in there that can take them out and actually pull them back in. And there's a cool little walkway through that as well. So that's about it for the intro. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of the video. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is I want to actually make a couple little inlets on the side of the hull because I want to accent the sides of the ship a little bit. So I'm starting off just with a rough plan with the 2x4 wedges and seeing what looks good. And now these ones took quite a while to finish, but usually it's worth it when you tinker on something for a little while and it comes out better every time. These things do actually have a purpose, aside from just being aesthetically pleasing. So pretty much, since I am planning to have a crane on the boat, I need some way to stabilize it when I lift really heavy objects. And I thought of a neat way, if you're gonna get in position to lift something really big, you can have a couple winches drop down anchors on each side of the boat, and those will tighten the boat down into the water. That way, when the crane kind of pulls the boat to one side, it can stabilize itself with the tightness of the rope. So the force of tension will kind of prevent it from flipping over in that side, making it better to lift a lot heavier things. So I'm hoping this works. If it doesn't, I mean, at least I've got nice looking accents on the side of my boat. But yeah, these took a long ass time to finish, so I'm pretty sure I even changed the design a lot after this, but they came out pretty similar. That same idea with the kind of dark gray inlet there and then the gray things that go around it. From there I decided to give the sides of the boat a break and move on to the top. So I made the little flare on the top of the bow. I colored that in a darker gray. And after that I moved on to the bottom deck, which I thought needed some little holes for rope anchors. I tried this first design with the 2 wedges, but that did not look good at all. Then I tried with just one set of wedges. That didn't look great either, so I moved on to this other design, which I widened it, and that seemed to look a little better. After that I added little bits on the tops, but those didn't really seem to help. And I finally struck something good here with these little almost like faucet ends of them, which was the only good thing for now about these little things. And I colored them in dark, and so far they look pretty good like this. So I think I'm just gonna leave them like that and put the same thing sort of on the inside. Then I'll color in the back of the ship, make a little winch area, and yeah, same thing on the other side of those little rope anchor holes. As you can see, I'm still desperately trying to adjust these little accents on the side, but no design really seems to be working here. So I'll just leave it like this for now, and I'll come back to it later. For now, I'm gonna go up to the bridge and actually start working on that because that's something I need to get done. So I'm just gonna lay out a couple of blocks tall like this and start working on the windshield. So I think the windshield should have 2 sort of panes of glass, so that way it's 6 blocks tall, and I'm gonna make this all the way around. This part was a little hard to do just because I couldn't line up the window pieces for some reason. It was kind of difficult, so I had to like use a bunch of blocks to set them where they needed to go. Other than that though, this part was pretty easy. I'm just making an outline around the bridge. I decided to go pretty basic with the bridge here, just these 1x1 wedge blocks, but I think basic doesn't necessarily have to mean bad. because I think these look good and they seal the bridge off well. I don't need to do anything like mod windows or anything like that. I think like this works fine. Plus, I mean, from a functionality point of view, this actually works pretty well. I then shortened the bridge a little bit because I wanted to make the bridge wings a little smaller. I realized that they'd be huge if I left it the way it was, so I made a little transition there on the back, and I worked my way up from there for the walls. After I was done that, I kept on building on the bridge wings and sort of made them just come out with those little corner pieces, which wasn't too hard. For the opposing side of the bridge, I kind of just tried to mirror what I did on the front with the kind of wedges that are 3 blocks tall, and then I would add the back part with the glass that's 6 blocks tall for maximum visibility. Because this is also where you'd probably be controlling the crane from. If not from here, then from a level below it. But either way, you want good visibility from the bridge out everywhere onto the deck and all sides of the ship. For the bridge top, I made it pretty simple. I just made it kind of come out a little bit, like a few blocks, and I used slanted wedges. In the front, I made them a little more slanted, so I used 1x4s. In the back, I used 1x2 wedges to kind of highlight the difference. On the bridge wings as well, I used a bit of a different design. I went for the 1x2s to really show the bridge wings and them coming out. And on the roof, again, I made the slants go up a little higher just to show the roof of the bridge a little more. After that, it was a matter of just coloring in the windows and coloring the roof and kind of coloring the little bottom lines on the bridge just to make it look nice. Of course, it was going to look a lot better when I actually did the interior, but I wasn't focused on that for now. Then I started working on the front windows of the deck below the bridge. And after that was done, I moved on to coloring in the top of the bridge. Then I could actually start laying out how I wanted the decks to go, because I wanted to have a little part outside where you could step out for some fresh air on pretty much every deck. So I took away the big center column and I started kind of building around that. And in order to make the deck below the bridge a level, I had to kind of adjust the blue siding and make the holes in it bigger. Then I just added a 4th rope hole on the deck just because I thought it needed one more, because 3 wasn't enough. And from there on I went about adjusting those little accented slots again to see if I could find anything I liked. And I think after a while I just settled on something a little bit more casual, just like that one slot. I tried a couple other designs, but they really weren't working, so I just decided to stick to the tried and true method of doing them. Again, here's me modifying them over and over again to try and get them to look good, but I couldn't really come up with anything that looked like a lot better than anything else, so I kind of just left them like that for the next while. Next thing that I did was start decorating the bridge a little more. I started painting in all the dark parts, and I started trying to figure out the top a little better than I had before. So one of the things I tried to do was make a different slant on the roof, and that did not end up working. So instead, I kind of, after trying it, just went back to the old slant because I thought this one did not look very good. After moving it a bit to see if I get it to look any better, I just decided to give up and redo the whole back slant of the bridge. One thing that did come out of this experiment was those little side things that I just made there, which I thought actually looked pretty cool, so I was going to keep them when I redid the back of the bridge again, and those actually looked really good. This is one of those times where I probably should have just stuck to what I had going through with this, because I tried to modify it a couple times and it just didn't work. So I ended up kind of going with the exact same thing that I already had a while ago, and pretty much no progress was made here. After the bridge, I moved on to doing the stairwells and the doors to enter into the main sort of superstructure of the ship. So I decided to use those like lockable, sort of like classic marine style doors with the little wheel to turn, because I thought those looked good, and I turned them on the outside. The outside of the door would be facing outwards because I thought it looked pretty good. And then I decided to make a little stairwell on the side coming down to a little area down below, and I thought that would be a nice spot to leave open to get some just like open area on the ship, because I didn't think the whole thing needed to be just locked in like one big cabin. After that, I made quick little side pieces below the bridge wings because I thought those looked good, and they matched the back of the ship where I'd made that little slant to get rid of the big center column. Right after that, I started working on that open area again, so I decided to kind of extend it out a little bit to have more space in there to just walk around. And I thought I'd put a fence in there as well, just to, keep whoever's walking in there safe. At the end, I kind of made the hallway go in a little bit and put a door at the end so you could walk in and out of that little space. On the back side of the superstructure, I started sort of making more layers of the decks, just based on where the floors were going to be. I spaced out every 8 blocks, and I made little balconies every time, just so you could walk outside. I also made these little staircases that go down to the main deck. From there, I decided just to make a rough sort of sketch of the elevator column going through all the floors. This I would change later to make the column a little bigger, because I thought it needed to be quite a bit wider, but just to sort of get an image in my head of where the elevator column would be. I think I actually took a look at the logger right after this, and so I decided that I wanted to make more windows kind of on the back of the superstructure, because that's what he had a lot of, and I thought it would be good too, because when you come out of the elevator, you can immediately see everything, like the back deck and everything like that. So I copied some taller windows, and I started pasting those onto the back of the superstructure. Of course, I would have to seal those on the inside just because they're custom windows and they would let water through. Then I thought, why not do the same thing on the other 2 floors? So I pretty much did the exact same thing, except I lessened the amount of windows. So instead of 5, there was now 3 on the deck below that. And I also did another section of windows on the deck below that, which was also another set of 3 windows. I know this part is a little hard to watch because I'm going through the ship so fast, but this is pretty much me just checking out all the doors and seeing where you can and can't go. And I actually quite liked how all these windows looked on the back. I thought they gave the ship a lot more complexity without too much extra lag or something like that. So then I just pretty much extended the elevator column all the way down to see how many floors I would need. Now, the other idea that I had to do was actually make this little bow area go up higher so I could make the whole bow deck move more forward. So I started working more on that and adding more to it. And eventually I actually moved it all the way up and put the bow deck all the way forward. Then I just started adding stuff to the bridge. I added this little curved thing that goes around, and I thought that actually looked really good. So I kept that there. I wanted to put a little slice through the middle somehow, and I think I just settled on 2 lines for now, but I think I got rid of that later because I didn't like the way it looked. Then I actually got the idea to put in a couple more windows into the sides of the bridge wings, but as I later found out, my bridge wings were actually too narrow. They were 6 blocks instead of 7, so it was a little hard to put them in. So I had to individually move them out and make space for the windows that were going in below them. So that went well, and I think that added a lot to the look of the vessel. Of course, I had to seal these 2 from the inside, but that wasn't a big deal because it was just a couple windows. After that, I started sizing up the doors for the elevators, and as I later found out, I put them in the wrong position, so I actually had to move them over later to make it work. Then I moved on to the bow part, which I'd said I'd do earlier, and so I tried to make it a lot bigger and a lot taller. So I made a couple extra sections of width and an extra section of height, and then I took the select tool and moved the whole thing upwards. This took a little more adjusting from the bottom of the bow where I needed to actually raise it a little more, but overall I think it was worth it because I got a whole lot of extra space on the top deck. So aside from this, I did a couple other things. I actually made the elevator work, and I made a helipad on top of the bridge, which if you go back to the first part of the video, you'll see me doing that. But I decided not to include those just because mainly I didn't really record them, and a lot of it was just like tinkering and stuff like that. So I don't know if you guys really need to see all that. Aside from that, though, I also added the little launch bays. Well, not very little. They're actually really big launch bays on each side. So I thought they'd be just big enough to fit one of my big ribs in them. So that would be good for exploration missions and stuff like that. Aside from that, that's pretty much it for this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. And yeah, I'm going to be continuing this project for a little while. Hopefully I can actually get around to finishing this. See you guys in the next one.